Hello, followers, and welcome to my little explainer on cultural consumption, or to the point, how my cultural consumption of the Korean wave impacts my everyday life. First, let's start off with some context. Consumption refers to the using up of a product, service, or object, regardless of the ideological or economic context the consumption is happening in. Consumerism is the logic behind and practice of consuming within distinct social and political systems, also known as consumer capital. Cultural consumption refers to the culturally specific goods and services which we draw meaning from, which are social in nature. Identity and social relations are reproduced through culturally specific consumption and are negotiated through the changing and rejecting of cultural consumer codes. For some context about my own identity and social relations, I am a white Australian woman with settler ancestry on both sides. I'm in my mid 30s, married but with no children, am a feminist, and I am obsessed with Korean dramas. My obsession with K-dramas started back in 2020 during the first COVID lockdown. K-dramas are a major part of Hallyu 4.0, or the fourth Korean wave of entertainment, which has been globally produced and distributed under a neoliberal nationalistic approach. Littler states that consumption refers to the using up of a product, service, or object regardless of the ideological or economic context the consumption is happening in. For myself, feminist ideology plays a large role in the viewing lens of my consumption habits. Feminism in South Korea is several decades behind the West and only started in the 1980s, linked intrinsically to the socialist and democratic movements of the time and not an entity of its own. Bauman states that the separate feminist movements have only occurred in the last 2 decades, largely in part due to social media. Like Australia, South Korea experienced a baby boom in the 60s, and so contemporary Korean entertainment has been largely geared towards millennials. With an aging population and the world's largest declining birth rate, the themes explored in K dramas resonate with my own gendered experiences occurring in my age group. Since 2016 and the Me Too movement, the themes in contemporary K drama's fourth wave explore Korea's domestic violence issues, sexism and gender based discrimination in the workplace, the competitive education system, and the strain this puts on families. These themes aren't common to just Korea, they're common all over the world, and are themes I feel Western media are too shy to explore. In fact, Hyunji Lee in 2018 suggested that Western women's experiences of K dramas are intricately linked to their real life experiences and desires. Since their local TV programming does not cater to their desires and social and ideological proclivities, they use K dramas as an alternative that provides an appealing, romantic, and more reserved fantasy. As someone in their mid 30s, K dramas offer a relatable experience as a woman, whether that be through an existential crisis, the value of close friendships, or the value of food and family. When I first started watching 4 years ago, I could only access K dramas through the Asian streaming service Viki Rakuten. Since then, Netflix has become both a global distributor and producer of K dramas, so much so that my Netflix algorithm only contains K drama recommendations, some categories so specific. However, this allows me to consume a whole range of titles and enables a daily dose of K drama into my everyday life. In 2013, Isabel Desollier stated in The Food and the Self that material media not only teaches their audiences to consume, but they also teach them what to consume in different domains of material objects such as food, clothes, homes, and gardens. I might have started consuming K dramas for the ideological themes that I can relate to, but most of the time I watch K dramas for the food. Desollier suggests that the taste for ethnic culinary diversity here in Australia is widespread and democratised due to an increase in globalisation, migration, travel, and influences from the media. The exclusivity of taste in Australia has less to do with class systems and more to do with the formation of a multicultural national identity which has normalised the exploration of food. The cultural exploration of food based around ethnic diversity can be considered a cosmopolitan taste. While Bourdieu argued in 1984 that taste is a form of cultural knowledge which is learnt through the family or through education, Hannes, later in 1990, suggests that true cosmopolitans seek out different taste experiences by remaining open towards divergent cultural practices. I wouldn't consider myself a foodie, but I was brought up by two. Memories of Vietnamese hot pots at the dinner table in the 90s, mum's Chinese fusion obsession in the 2000s, and dad's fascination with South American meat rubs in the 2010s have all helped to develop my love of and appreciation for diverse food. These aren't Australian dishes, though. When I think of a food item that binds Australian culture together, I think of the very meta phenomenon occurring at the moment of converging Vegemite with everything. So K-dramas feature food, a lot of it, and is a goal of Hallyu 4.0 in distributing a cultural industry to world consumers. Bauman states that one of K-dramas' aims is to target their media to non-Koreans eating Korean food while watching K-dramas at least once a month, which increases revenues derived via Hallyu media, such as ramyeon or ramen. De Solia suggests that a core part of having a cosmopolitan taste is to have an appreciation for lowbrow food, foods which attract low cultural value, similar to Vegemite. While ramyeon may be seen in Korea as lowbrow, the K-ramyeon industry has boomed from 200 million in exports globally in 2015 to 700 million by 2022, reflecting a surge in demand driven by the popularity of K-dramas. So while I sit at home binging my 16 to 20 episode series, I consume lowbrow ramyeon. The direct correlation between the food I eat versus the K-drama I'm watching at the time can be traced from the supermarket aisle to my DoorDash receipt. Timothy, in Shopping, Tourism, Retail and Leisure, said in 2005, even grocery shopping, which many people treat as laborious and purely utilitarian, for many people becomes a recreational event where pleasure mingles with work. My local conglomerate supermarket now stocks a broad range of ramyeon to choose from. My local Asian grocer has an entire wall dedicated to it. Grocery shopping becomes a recreational event as I peruse the ramyeon aisle at Woolies, wanting to explore a new sachet of sodium. I can easily access and purchase some of the brands I see in my shows, making me an active participant and consumer of K-dramas. On the other hand, if I head over to my DoorDash app, I can check out the embarrassing amount of times I've ordered Korean fried chicken while I've been watching K-dramas, which, as was mentioned earlier, is one of the main goals of Hallyu. From ramyeon to fried chicken, I diversified my taste for Korean food by making more of the dishes I would see in these shows. Beef bulgogi and kimchi pancakes have become staples in my house in the last year. My ideological feminist connection to K-dramas quickly turned into a food safari and the further exploration into Korean culture. Lee suggests that Western fans use K-dramas to gain cultural knowledge of food, history, and language, a form of global consciousness. Fans interact with each other online to share their tastes and interests and to embrace other cultures and perspectives. This is called what Henry Jenkins in 2006 referred to as pop cosmopolitanism. Jenkins describes pop cosmopolitanism as the ways that the transcultural flows of popular culture inspire new forms of global consciousness and cultural competency. Modern cosmopolitans think globally. They embrace cultural difference and seek to escape the norms of their own local communities. I embrace pop cosmopolitanism, which inspires global consciousness in K-dramas, by seeking to escape the cultural norms of my own life, a kind of cultural tourist. As Miles Stevens describes in Shopping for Dreams, to be a cultural tourist is to attempt to go beyond idle leisure and to return enriched with knowledge of other places and other people, even if this involves gazing at or collecting in some way the commodified essences of otherness. Lee suggests that Western K-drama fans play an active role in embracing pop cosmopolitanism by consuming K-dramas, experiencing and developing greater respect for cultural diversity, and expanding on their cultural knowledge. According to Jenkins, participatory culture plays a huge role in consuming culture and can be seen as having relatively low barriers to artistic expression and civic engagement, strong support for sharing creations with others, members contribute and mentor others, and fosters social connections with one another. My own consumption of K-dramas turns participatory through social media and the Korean subreddits I hang out on. My subscription to the ramen, K-drama, and Korean subs allows me to participate and consume ways to pimp my ramen, share K-drama recommendations to fans wanting similar titles, or to learn more about the politics of Korean culture. As a cultural tourist, I conspicuously consume Korean culture. K-dramas are neoliberal in nature and feature heavy product placement, not just of local food, but of luxury items. Koreans spend the most amount of money globally on luxury goods, and it's the intent of producers and distributors of K-dramas to place products which stimulate their economy. When I watch K-dramas, I don't conspicuously consume luxury, however, I do so with food, which impacts my day-to-day shopping. Timothy says a significant part of the shopping experience is novelty seeking. Individuals seek novel stimuli which may be enhanced when new venues are experienced and new merchandise is examined. Recreational shoppers in particular are less likely to know what they want to purchase and are less concerned with the distance they need to travel. Once a month, I head to Strathfield or Rhodes in the outskirts of Sydney, but whose locations are centralised around Korean culture. I head here with friends who also watch K dramas for an authentic Korean meal and to peruse the Korean supermarkets. Timothy also says that recreational shoppers tend to purchase spontaneously, with friends, and continue shopping after they've made a purchase. Here, my conspicuous consumption of Korean food becomes realised, where I can purchase Korean rice wine along with a ginseng hangover cure. If I see a product on a shelf that I've seen in a K drama, whether it be a snack or a particular brand of red pepper powder, I purchase it. As Timothy puts it, my quest for a leisure experience is more substantial than the acquisition of objects. I get a thrill if I see a grape flavoured lolly I've seen plonked into a shot of soju. However, I will argue that my own experience of embracing Korean culture is one of more private fantasy. In 1991's Consuming Desires, Friedman says the fundamental principle of modern consumerism is the realization of the private fantasy, driven by a desire that can, by definition, never be satisfied. Consumption is the creation of a life world, an identity space, or imagined existence expressing the existential desire to become another. My fixation on K dramas not only revolves around feminist ideology and food, but the symbolism I interpret within the media around family. Jenkins in 2006 said the surrendering of oneself to a foreign culture through cosmopolitanism enables fresh perceptions upon which a deeper understanding can be built, with Hahn in 2019 stating, media stories provide the symbols, myths, and resources through which we constitute a common culture and through the appropriation of which we insert ourselves into it. K-dramas reflect Confucian family values, and with my own family living interstate and overseas, I believe K-dramas realize this private fantasy for wanting to be with my family, to eat a meal with them. I see Korean food as comforting. Their fixation on broth and the symbolism of warmth and feeling good resonates outside of Korean culture. I eat Korean food for comfort. I share Korean food once a month because of the symbolism. Lee states, fans' relationships with K-drama thus can inspire new and strengthen existing social and cultural views. My Korean food family is a newfound or created family which drives my own personal fantasies and desires to maintain familial connections. The role of K-drama consumption plays a large part of my everyday life, from the conspicuous consumption of Korean food, the recreational shopping I participate in with Korean-made products, the participatory culture I contribute to online, to the family and social connections I make. K-drama as cultural consumption enables me to become a pop cosmopolitan and explore global consciousness. It allows me to become a cultural tourist to escape the norms of my everyday existence. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.